Welcome back to the show, y'all. We're here with Mark Allen Jr., a voice actor you've heard in plenty of your favorite anime shows. He's played Karin in Fire Force, multiple characters in Gundam Wing, Iron Blood Orphan. He played Nicholas on Hunter x Hunter, and he has done multiple voices on My Hero Academia. Please welcome to the show, Mark Allen Jr.
Hello. Good to be here.
Thank you for coming through, man. Like, I know you got an amazing career in voice acting, and I know everybody starts the podcast off with asking the same question, like, how did you get started? So specifically what I want to ask you is, what about voice acting do you enjoy, and like, what keeps you coming back?
Being able to not be me. And that sounds more negative than it actually is. Like, I like me, but there's something about stage acting and screen acting where you're limited by what you look like, your body type, that kind of thing. There's only so much makeup that people can put on you to play a certain character. And in voiceover, that's not the case. Like, I've played everything from a giant ogre to a tiny butterfly. I've done cat noises. I've done monster sounds, things that like you normally wouldn't be able to play that in a movie. It's open to you in voiceover. So you have a lot more freedom in terms of the kinds of characters that you can play.
Oh.
Now, specifically, I need to get into talking about Fire Force, because not only is that show not at all what I expected it to be about. I was like, is this about firefighters, right? No, I got into it. It's so good. Now, what attracted you to your role in that? What attracted you? What affects how you voice him?
Well, Karin really has only had a limited run on the show so far. And so I didn't have a whole lot of time to really live with him. But one of the things that I really like about him is that he is your stereotypical hothead in a show about hotheads. So when we were working the character, one of the things that they wanted to make sure was that he didn't sound like anybody else. So he has a little bit of a stereotypical dude bro voice, which I like to use on occasion, especially in the background. I do a lot of additional voice work, and that dude bro voice is in like everything I've ever worked on. But with Karin in particular, we had to make it so that he didn't sound necessarily stupid, just tough. So we spent a little bit of time working that voice to make sure that he was different from everybody else in the show, but also sounded like he deserved to be there,
Oh yeah, every boy I knew in college sounds like him. So it's perfect.
Exactly. I went to college in Orange County in California, so that voice is very much based off of people I
knew. You saw the role, he was like, "I got it."
Yep.
All right, but so this is one of the big questions that why we wanted to bring a lot of voice actors on, just because a lot of people don't know how to get started in voice acting, and specifically like anime. Do you have any advice for our listeners that's probably wanting to be a voice actor in anime?
Take classes. It's a very boring answer that every voice actor who ever gets asked this question is going to give you the same answer, but that's the truth of it. Because it's beneficial in multiple ways. One, you're going to get comfortable with your voice. What you hear when you talk is not the same thing that a microphone hears when it picks up your voice. So listening back to your voice, it's going to be weird for a long time. So the more classes that you take that give you those opportunities to get in front of a microphone and record your voice and have something to work with, to listen back to, it's going to help you get more comfortable with your voice, which is the most important part of voice acting other than acting. If you've never taken an acting class, take acting classes. Don't specifically just take voiceover classes, but take acting classes that are going to teach you how to act. There's a saying in the industry that voice acting is a small V, big A. We always want to emphasize that it is acting. So you want to make sure you're comfortable acting, whether that's stage or film or whatever your experience might be before you get into voiceover. Make sure you know how to act. But then voiceover classes will also help you on a networking side of things. A lot of them will be run by studios or directors or engineers who are looking for people that they can add to their list. Especially if they have like a big project coming up and they remember you from a class, they might be willing to give you a chance and send you an audition for that. So that might be your in. You never really know. But you also get to meet other actors as well. I've had the distinct pleasure of meeting a lot of actors over my career. who have gone on to various levels of acclaim. And it's always great to have those conversations with other people and figure out, okay, how do you approach what you do? You know, there's characters that you excel at that I will never play. And so I'm really curious as to what your process might be for those kinds of characters. And just absorb it all, be a sponge and take all that information and figure out ways to apply it to your own style, you know?
Oh yeah, people definitely don't attach the word acting to voice acting enough.
Yeah, it's the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
The most important part.
Now, I might be totally wrong in saying this, but does Viz and Crunchyroll and any other companies in general, do they have contracts like with y'all, like with voice artists? Or is it like if you voice for Viz and you can't voice anywhere else? Like, how does it necessarily work in that business?
In the world of anime, that's not very common. You might experience that in commercial work. There might be some stipulations in a contract that you might sign. Let's say, for example, they want you to be the voice of Lexus. You're going to have to sign a contract that says they're going to go to you for all of their commercials for a certain amount of time. And while you're on contract for that, you can't do voice work for another car company, for example. In anime, that's not usually the case. Typically, if you're signing anything, you're signing an NDA that just says, I will not talk about this until the company has given me the permission to talk about it. That'll usually come after the show is announced or the cast list is announced, but not always. So it's always important to know, if you're on an NDA, what are you signing for? And if you don't sign an NDA, then assume you can't say anything until they tell you to. Because there are people who have gotten into a lot of trouble and lost jobs because they've broken NDAs. So, but it's not usually like you're voicing for, like, I work a lot with Funimation right now, and it's not like Funimation would be like, well, you can't go work for these other companies. Because we're all contractors. So no one's an employee of the production company. We're all just doing our best to, do the job that we're hired to do and then move on to the next one,
No, for sure. Nah, that was a lot of questions. There's a lot of people that talk that just like who are fans of anime that think like, oh, these voice actors just supposed to stay here, or these voice actors be there.
No, we're not employees. That's got benefits and detriments to it because
I bet.
Obviously, when you're a contractor, things like health insurance or steady pay are concerns you're always going to have. But at the same time, it does give you that freedom to work on this project and that project and this project. So you have more opportunities to play, essentially.
Oh, heck yeah.
For sure. All right, now this is another fan question that they always want to talk to a voice actor about. So a lot of times people get mad that anime, that like dubbed anime like that's already dubbed and voice acted, it takes so long to come out. And they always get frustrated about that. It's basically people who just love the anime so much and love the voice actor work. They just don't want to wait. So does it take a long time for anime to get dubbed? Can you get us like a little bit into that kind of process?
Sure. So there are a couple of different ways that anime is being made right now. Out here in Texas, typically most shows are done on what's called a simuldub schedule. So shortly after the episode airs in Japan, or sometimes even before the episode airs in Japan, it's sent to the dubbing company. And the goal is to get it finished as close to the air date of the Japanese version as possible. Part of this is to help kind of curtail pirating. If things are more readily available, people are less likely to pirate them. But it's also just been a steady increase in availability for anime fans over the last few years. So the idea is give them stuff to watch and they will watch it. So with simuldubs, it's a very quick process. Things have slowed down a little bit because of COVID.
For sure.
Before lockdown, typically it was usually a week or two after the episode aired in Japan that it would be up in English. Since COVID, we've all had to learn how to record from home, which means that schedules take longer to get sorted and getting everybody recorded takes longer. Plus, you have to make sure everybody's up to broadcast standards. So everyone had to take time to upgrade their equipment or find a solution for their recording space. Like, I can't record in here. My bedroom walls are a little too echoey. So that has increased the amount of time it takes for simuldubbing. But the other way to do it is that sometimes they'll wait until an entire season is done. And then the next season they might go through, and it may take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to dub it all together, especially if you have access to a studio, which obviously COVID is, going to change that. But if you have access to a studio and everyone can come in and record, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, you might make it through 13 episodes. So when there aren't real world issues going on, it can just depend on how long it's been since the show came out and how quickly a production company might license that for a dubbing experience. So I know, for example, there was a show that I got to work on called Arta that just finished airing the English dub. That show came out in Japanese, I think, in the spring. But when we were working on it this time, because it wasn't a simuldub, we didn't have to take it one episode at a time, so we could work in chunks. So I went in and recorded for like 3 or 4 episodes in a 2-hour block. And that was my experience with the show. And that meant that over the course of a year, I spent less time with it. But that means that those, my bit parts for those 4 episodes are done. So they don't have to worry about that next week. They're just done. So Arta actually got to release 2 episodes every week, I think it was, for 6 weeks. So the whole show is up now and watchable in English. So yeah, it did come out in Japanese in the spring, but it was one of those shows where there's only so many shows that they can dub in a season, and we only have so many people available for that kind of thing. So those are just a couple of the ways that it can be done. There are more, but it's a very complex process that I only know a little bit about because I'm just an actor. There's engineers involved both for recording and mixing. There's teletypists who have to handle like subtitles and redoing the credits, and there's an art department that has to do advertisement images and things like that. So there's so many moving parts on the production company in terms of getting that stuff out. So it's very complex. Say again?
Advertisement images? There's like the Fundamation logos and stuff like
that? Yeah, and also like if you wanted to put up, let's say you wanted to put a promotional image on Twitter saying, hey, you guys have been asking us to show this show for months. Well, we're happy to say now we're doing it. And these are the people that you can see in it. So they'll have a poster up that has like the logo of the show, a couple images of the show, and then maybe headshots of the actors next to their characters or something like that. So a lot of announcements and things like that are also part of the process. Because you want to generate that hype so that people are actually going to watch it, especially if it's been a while since the show originally aired in Japanese.
So, I mean, because the hype won't die. Because once it becomes a craze, it's a craze.
But that's the thing, is it has to be a craze already. If it's not, the goal is to make it one. I've worked on a lot of shows that kind of just fly under the radar, and it doesn't seem like a whole lot of people watch them. Because, in a given, 4-month period, there might be 30 shows that are all being dubbed at the same time. Most people don't have enough time to watch 30 episodes a week, So some stuff gets missed, unfortunately.
Give me 5 minutes, I'll watch the whole show.
You should have seen the way I binged Fire Force. So,
did you have 4 episodes up on different monitors, and you're just like,
absorb?
I wish I could just experience my stories through osmosis.
Honestly.
Yes. That way I can catch up to One Piece.
That's the only way you could. There's 700 episodes.
Yeah.
7 screens.
If you're over 20, you're done. You don't have enough time to watch the whole show.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
That's funny. Oh my god. Now, I want to know, is there a particular role that you've played that you're like, this is my baby right here? This is a character that I knocked out of the park, that I really enjoy portraying.
Anyone who has a name is my baby. Because I've played so many characters who don't. So the ones who get a name, I'm usually very protective of. Those are the ones that I'm like, is there merch? I need to have it. As far as characters that I knocked out of the park, I don't know. I tend to be really, really hard on myself and my acting. it usually takes a long time for me to like go back and watch something and be like, yeah, you did a good job with that. Mm-hmm. I played a character named Ren Koha in Magi, the Kingdom of Magic, which I believe now has been out for like 5 or 6 years. But for like the
I've definitely heard of it. Yeah.
First 2 years or so, I couldn't watch it. I was just like, I'm terrible. I don't sound like I belong there. Like, it's just awful. And then I finally went back and watched it after several years, and I was like, you know what? No, you're an idiot. That's great. You're perfect. Like a lot of it comes down to trust in the directors. I trust that they know what they're doing, so I know that we're putting out a product that is good. But when it comes to seeing my specific scenes, that's when